Jesus. We live closer to the main road leading into the apartment complex. So where they found Jaclyn's body was the last apartment building to the, I believe, west. We lived in the eastern part, but it was still along those same backwoods that we lived in. He said that's what he said. He didn't talk anything about nose structures or anything like that until I read it in the newspaper. But he didn't talk about nose structures, but he said he saw a car, it might look like a Malibu, that was in that area he'd never seen before. I was in the room. That's why I remember. So the cops was like, "Hey, can you come down to the station?" He was like, "Yeah, I come down to the station." My mom came home. He told my mom. It was like, and my mom just had this look like, "What?"
Right.
And he left, and all of a sudden, you hear it, and he's placing Dowaliby
under arrest
at the scene. So he's about 75 feet away. Now,
okay. Place him at
he placed him at the scene. No, my dad couldn't fucking.
No, okay.
He wasn't a cop.
I thought you said they. I didn't know you said he.
He said the Malibu was 75 feet away.
Okay.
He only see one side view of the individual, not a full frontal view. He told the police that he saw a silhouette.
A silhouette.
Yeah, he also stated to the police that he wasn't sure the person was white or African American. Okay, yeah, that part is true. He wasn't sure they were white or African American. And then all of a sudden it morphs into this thing where he places Dowaliby at the scene.
Okay.
Now his defense would say, like, you can't see anyone from that far away.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to break it to you, but you can't point out their features, but you can see there was someone there. And I don't want to be a fucking sexist.
Here we go.
But my father stated that they were walking to their car to get into their car. You can kind of tell whether the walker's a man or a woman.
I mean, you can tell with height. You can tell with hair.
Yeah, you can't. But you couldn't see the hair or whatever. But a walk.
Couldn't see the type of coat they had on.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear any shoes.
Mm-hmm.
None of that.
None of that.
Okay.
So it started morphing to this thing where, like I said, I think the cops were leading my father.
Yeah.
I never told anyone. Yeah, I never told anyone this.
Here we go.
One day I come in and my father had left a sheet of paper on the dining room table.
Okay.
It was a lineup. It was a lineup of. They gave him and to identify. Now I've never known. I don't know if it's standard operating procedure. You let somebody take home a lineup card.
That's what I was just thinking, and they probably didn't let him take it home. They might have brought it to him.
Yeah.
And ask him to pick the person that looked the most.
Yeah, and is that even legal? Because I thought you have to do that at a police station.
I'm gonna be real honest. My only knowledge of any of that stuff is from fictionalized cop shows.
But
no fictionalized cop show that I've watched had they brought pictures to people outside of the police station. Meaning, when you go to the police station, there are pictures.
there's a lineup, but not outside the home.
Not that I'm aware.
Not that,
Yes or no, but I'm not
right.
aware of ever seeing that on my cop shows.
Yeah, it was clear as day because one of the pictures was David Dowaliby. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed him because he's all over the damn news at this point.
Right.
And now they later stated that his defense, David Dowaliby's defense, because he does get charged with this, is that he's in a lineup photo and they showed my father this lineup photo and Dowaliby's picture is 40% bigger because they're trying to say, oh, look at
Oh,
Dowaliby's nose structure.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember it being this card that was there, this piece of paper, this card that was there, and him being bigger, but I noticed it was him. It was David Dowaliby. And again,
because he was being accentuated on TV.
yeah. And
Okay.
again, I don't know if that's legal. You could take a lineup card home, lineup piece of paper home. But yeah, this was in my home at the time, and David Dowaliby's picture was on it. If you're listening right now and you have some knowledge on this, write me at weekendweird@gmail.com whether this is legal. Whether this is standard operating procedure for a police department or a detective to give a witness a lineup card at their home,
Right.
or allow them to take a lineup card home. Because if it's not, then we got some serious fucking issues. Because I remember that's what I was saying. And whoever the Blue Island Police, whoever was, I believe it was Blue Island Police, because now Blue Island Police is involved in this because it's a murder in their town, whether they did it or Crestwood or Midlothian or the Illinois State Police or whoever. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, and they'll deny it, and which I just say you're a bunch of fucking liars. Go fuck yourself.
Yikes, that's a lot.
I know what I saw in that freaking paper with 5 white guys, and David Dowaliby was in my home on my dining room table. I saw it. So, great story. Ain't it?
It's interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah. So they ended up taking, so pretty much they only have a circumstantial evidence, not enough to take a trial, and they're still constantly looking for evidence to end up taking the trial, but they're still having a hard time finding it. But finally they end up pulling the trigger and arresting David and Cynthia on murder charges. So, which is actually kind of funny. Well, not kind of funny, but very coincident. On the day that they announced the charges on David and Cynthia for the murder of their daughter, guess what was front page news on most of the Chicago Tribune and the Chicago Sun-Times?
What?
The Cook County State's Attorney, Richard M. Daley, announces his candidacy for mayor.
Well, there you go. He's got to show you.
Got to show he's tough on crime. So he gets these parents for murdering their daughter. And declares himself for mayor. So especially if you're not from the city of Chicago, or you're too young to remember, or you're not from this country, Richard M. Daley was mayor of Chicago for 5 terms. I think he was mayor from 1889 to like 2000 something. Recently, well, not recently. It's been 12 years since he was mayor. He was son of Richard. His father was also mayor. Richard, what was R. Daley? Richard.
I don't know.
Yeah, Richard R. Daley, who was mayor during the 1968 Democratic National Convention and that cop riot that happens, and his father was just give you what type of person Richard M. Daley was. During the 1968 Democratic Convention, you can, even though you can't hear what he's saying, but you can read his lips when one of the delegates of the convention is calling out the defected Chicago police are out pretty much beating the shit out of fucking protesters out there, and you could see a very young Richard M. Daley mouth, "You Jew bastards." And that's what type of person he was. And that's what type of person he was as mayor. Fuck Richard M. Daley. I've always hated that motherfucker. And even though he's not the worst in that in that Cook County office, that my fucking ire goes to another prosecutor in that Cook County's state's attorney's office, which we'll get to a little later. Actually, we'll get to in a couple of minutes. But fuck Richard M. Daley. Fuck that guy.
A lot of anger, buddy.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit. He was a fucking terrible ass fucking mayor. So they arrest David and Cynthia, and the state comes in and takes the youngest son, Davy, away. They wouldn't even let him stay with his grandparents, his grandmother, or David's side of the family. They just take him because they've been accused of murdering the kid's sister. So,
right.
So they go to trial. They getting lawyers. They go into trial. Pretty much they present their evidence, which is pretty much very flimsy. They bring my father up on there that places David at the scene of the crime, even though what the prosecution wanted to, even though my father had got up there and stated that he wasn't sure that it was him.
Right.
Like all he saw was a nose structure and a late model car. Their evidence. It was literally their evidence was freaking flimsy.
Right.
And it's being just imagine what David and Cynthia are going through. Their daughter was killed. She was found in a field. And the cops been blaming them. And this is not, and also at the same time, this is not a wealthy family. This is a working class family. So every dime they got is going towards their defense. And mind you, they have people in their corner that don't believe that they did this, that they hurt their daughter. They testify that they love their daughter, who got their back, but they're also working class people as well. And they don't got a lot of money. So you're screwing over this family twice.
Would you say that happens in a lot of cases where there's a child kidnapped or unfortunately found dead? Would you say that most times some members of the family are suspected, if definitely the members of the family who live with the child?
Yeah, that's the first. Something like that, a child or a family member is missing or has found deceased in non-natural causes or hurt. Yeah, they look inward first,
right,
to rule them out. But there was so much evidence ruling them out at the beginning that they're like, come on, all of a sudden you can't find anything. It was like, okay, let's go back. Let's go back.
Right.
So the prosecution brings all this evidence, and also they bring in the fact that David knew that Jaclyn was in the field. Like their theory was there was an accident. One of the parents, they pointed more towards Cynthia, was disciplining Jaclyn, and it got out of hand, and she ended up dying, asphyxiating herself, whatever. David,
how though? Do they get?
They can't point to a good. They said they tied her. That she wet herself And this is from